Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit-Down, and welcome in my guest, the Child. He's gonna be kicking it with us because, we got our child mask on, we got our shirt on. Do I even need to tell you what we're talking about? It's back, baby! So why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat, we are getting ready to dive in, spoiler-free, into The Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 1, The Marshal. Allow me to take off my mask, and we're gonna hook up the Child here so that he don't get sick. You just hang out right there, little man. You gotta make sure you cover your nose, big guy. There you go. Dude, it is back, and I'm so excited. I had to bring the Child along, man, because just like he's been doing for the last season, he's just hanging out, watching all of this crazy stuff go down, and I'm so happy. It feels like we've waited so long, like an entire pandemic, for this show to return, and I couldn't be more ecstatic. You got Johnny Favs behind the camera directing his first episode of The Mandalorian. As we remember, Season 1 he only wrote, wasn't able to do any directing because he was working on The Lion King, which apparently was like, a lot of work. But Season 2, man, he's back. We knew he'd be directing, and right out the gate, right in first episode, directing the first episode, hour-long episode, like Johnny Favs is like, yo, I know I made you guys wait for Season 2, which, I mean, granted, like, we were going to have to wait. But he came out big time, man. He's like, I know, it hasn't even been a whole year, but that's been too long to wait. So I'm going to give you an hour, 49 minutes and change, of The Mandalorian back for Season 2. And what an epic adventure he gets to in his first episode this time around. Very much like Season 1, it seems like we're operating where the Mando's got a mission. He's got to go bring the Child back to his people. And he's got to track them down. The only way to do that is to track down other Mandalorians to kind of help him figure out where to go. And while that is his mission, much like last year, side mission kind of pops up in order to help him figure out what he's got to do for his main mission. And that's what Episode 1 is. Episode 1, minor spoilers, brings us back to Tatooine, introduces us to Timothy Olyphant's character. We saw him, on set, when they started shooting. We'd heard some rumors about maybe things he would be wearing or donning. Maybe we see that in the episode. Maybe there's some explanation to why he is wearing those things. But, since we had seen, photos and things and knew he was cast to be in the season, boom, we get him right here in Episode 1. And his character is really quite interesting, and I love the way Olyphant carries himself. I mean, he really is just a perfect person to bring in here. If you know anything about Timothy Olyphant, he dominated the television screen in Justified for years, where he was a legitimate cowboy. So bringing him into a space western makes a lot of sense, and he continues to just crush that realm of storytelling, man. Like, he has the vibe of a gunslinger, of someone who's done westerns before. And getting to watch him work alongside the Mandalorian in this episode is a ton of fun. So I really loved everything Olyphant was bringing. And I of course, love everything that Pedro Pascal and, his body doubles are bringing. Word on the street is that we might see Pedro in the suit more than last year. But yet again, we won't really know because Mandalorian don't ever take off his helmet. But voice work-wise, Pedro Pascal is back and just doing exactly what we expect from him. And then from the physical acting, whether it's him or his body doubles, he is just an imposing figure when he wants to be, man. Like, and he's not scared of anything. I love that he just continually is like, yeah, I mean, we could go there, but like, I would suggest that maybe you just give me what I need before I have to kick your ass. And there's plenty of ass kicking to be had for the Mandalorian in Episode 1. the opening, there's a really nice fight sequence that kind of reminiscent of episode 1 of season 1. There's a lot of elements into the opening, the cold open before we get our title card, that reminded me of episode 1 from season 1. And of course, we get a little action, and it's wonderful. But the thing I love the most is that the score kind of swings into like this high-pitched electric guitar and like is syncing up with the dinks and danks that like are being, anytime he's getting hit or he's hitting people. And I was just sitting there, I was like, God, man, like, the one thing I love about this show is its production value. Whether it's, the visuals or the audio mixing, and the mixing here is just so nice, where it's like that guitar is just giving you everything you want as the scene is happening. And then as he's getting hit or he's hitting people, the noises are kind of like mixing in and creating like a secondary beat along with the music. And composer Ludwig Göransson, I mean, we know this dude is just an epic composer when it comes to this type of material, right? I mean, Black Panther season 1, like the sounds and the music that he brings in just fit so perfectly. And don't worry, we get that classic Mandalorian score plenty of times throughout the whole episode. But start to finish, man, this is a big episode. And yes, it turns into like a side mission that only slowly advances the Mandalorian story, but gives us a ton of cool stuff, man. The build to what goes down in the final act of this episode is just wonderful, and the final act itself is something huge and massive. Like, it's a big set piece, and it's super cool, and I just loved everything that Fabs does with that whole scene, like what the Mandalorian has to do, what he, is willing to do to get to his end goal. It's just one of those things I love to continue watching on screen with this show. And then, yes, obviously, the child is all over this bad boy. Much like he always is, kicking it around, hanging out in either his little floating pod or walking around, just peeking in on things that the Mandalorian's doing, or just watching everything that's going on. And yes, he's still as cute as ever, man. Those big wide eyes when he sees things or he gets scared. There's a moment where he hides in the episode that just kind of made me smile. There is the moment from the trailer that we saw where he hides because something's about to happen, and that is just wonderful. And much like I wanted in the trailer, we actually see what happens, whereas in the trailer it just went black and we heard what was going on. So we do get to see the action from that bit from the trailer, if you know what I'm talking about. But I love watching him hide in his little pod. And then there's, much like we got in season 1, it's like the child with certain things is just beyond adorable. And the thing that he interacts with in this episode, it made me laugh out loud. And then they go back to it a second time, and the second time they go to it, I'm like, that's even better than what I thought you could use that thing for. So plenty of cuteness for the child in this episode. And I just love getting to watch him, like I said, be an onlooker to everything that's going on. Because when he finally does get to do things, it pops all that much more. And spoilers, he doesn't do anything major in this episode. But it's like you earn seeing him do something by just getting to watch him watch things. And being an onlooker, he's just the most adorable onlooker ever. And then as far as the rest of the episode is concerned, like I said, we do go back to Tatooine. So there are some characters and some faces that we've seen before that might come back and see us again and put a smile on our face. And then the other thing that I just love is the world building that this whole team does. But specifically here, Favreau gives you lots of faces of aliens that we are familiar with, and aliens that we might not be so familiar with, and creatures that we might not be so familiar with. This episode is just packed with all sorts of things in the background that should make you go, ooh, that's a Star Wars thing. Ooh, that's a Star Wars thing. And I love the way that Favreau and co do that, man. Just kind of litter the background with all sorts of elements and things that are wonderful. I mean, at the beginning, the first place that Mando goes to, he's kind of walking through a seedy part of town, so there's some cool stuff up on the walls, and like I said, there's some creatures and other aliens that are bouncing around that you're like, oh, dude, I know what that is. And this episode has plenty of that, specifically on the front half. And the second half is just more of those beautiful things that we get from this show. Wonderful landscape shots, beautiful tracking shots of the Mando on a speeder. Just everything about this show, look and feel wise, is wonderful and it's perfect. And Favreau gives us some big things in this episode where we see and we go, oh, that's that thing! Oh, that's that thing! And let's just say, be ready for the end of the episode, because maybe I freaked out a little bit. I don't know, but I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm going to stop talking, man. Episode 1 of Season 2 just picked up, it feels like it picked up right where it left off, man. Like, all the vibes, all the things that you love about The Mandalorian are in this episode. Like I said, it's a 49-minute episode, so we get to spend tons of time after being away from him and the child, and everything you want is in that first episode for sure. And I just love that Favs is getting to be full in, finally getting to direct, and he crushes this episode, man. I was just smiling ear to ear the whole time. So that's it, man. That's my non-spoiler review. No shock, I loved episode 1. Spoiler review coming on a little bit later on in the day. Give everybody a chance to watch. Not everybody wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast to watch The Mandalorian. So we'll let everybody watch the first episode, and then we got some spoiler stuff coming later on in the day. But I'm done. The child is done. It's your turn to tell us what you're thinking, man. What'd you think of episode 1 if you watched it? Were you as happy as I was? Just glad to be back in this world. Like I said, the visual effects, that screen that they use that allows them to do everything on a soundstage, it's just crazy, man, because it does feel like they're on another world. So let me know what you're thinking in regards to, our visuals, sound and audio mixing, the score, and then, of course, the Mando and the child. What did you think of them this episode? What were your favorite moments? Without spoiling, like I said, there's that one thing that like the child interacts with that I lit up because it was so nice. So if you can explain things like that, please tell me what you were digging in this episode or what you weren't digging in this episode. Where did we land, and what things that were in the background and seeing, what things popped for you or didn't pop. Anything you're thinking, good, bad, indifferent about The Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 1, The Marshal, down below in the comments section. As always, if you enjoyed this review, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man all season long for Mandalorian Season 2, you know the deal. We did this Season 1. We're doing it again for Season 2. You want to be here and you haven't yet, jump over there, man. Join the rest of the C-Maniacs. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, for the C-Man Cinema Sit-Down, I've been the C-Man. This has been the child. And I am signing off. Peace. You guys are still here? You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit-Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.